Hey everyone, welcome back to the Two Rivers Tabac Book Club. This week we're going to review chapters 11 through 20 from The Path of Daggers, which is book number 8 in the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. My name is Andrew, and joining me today is Josh.
Hello.
Hey Josh, we're going to start
Hi
with
there.
we're going to start with chapter 11, which is Questions and an Oath. I'm just going to give a little outline here, and then we'll kind of get more into what happened in the chapter. So, Galena swears to obey Savannah and Thereva, as well as other present Shido Wise Ones, using an oath rod. Savannah agrees to move the Shido into the mountains after hearing about the Shan-Chan possibly moving into their area. So, the first part I kind of wanted to talk about a lot was this oath rod piece, obviously, with Galena swearing on the oath rod. Robert Jordan made it seem like Galena is completely obedient in every way to the wise ones by swearing that oath. I know we've talked about obviously the oath rod that's used with the Aes Sedai, where they swear to tell the truth and only use channeling against dark friends and stuff. But this one seems to be a lot different.
Yeah, it's interesting, this oath rod too, because I can't remember really in the past books if they ever mentioned there being more, or if they haven't discovered any. I mean, I might be wrong, and if I'm wrong, then I'd like to know about that. But what I thought was interesting is when they first brought that up, I was just like, I honestly couldn't believe it at first, because I thought it was like that's insane, because one of the reasons they even had the Aes Sedai even have those oath rods is to not only have their presence be more what's the word I'm looking for, more prestigious, in society, because it's like Aes Sedai can't lie, so they use the oath rod to force them not to lie. So, but then with the Shadow using this oath rod is basically making these Aes Sedai their slaves, just kind of like how the Shan use the collars.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I think that's a really good parallel there, where you have the Shan-Chan who, like you said, are using the collars, but then now the Shido have this oath rod to bind Aes Sedai to themselves, which is also scary considering Savannah has talked about, with her being the clan chief of the Shido, she's talked about how she wants to make Rand her husband.
Yeah, which
Uh,
he doesn't need any more wives, dude.
yeah, he has enough.
That's
Listen,
clear.
Savannah, you're gonna have to get in line. We got a few women ahead of you. Okay. Elaine has talked extensively with Avienda how she wants to be kissed on the neck, just like
Dude,
how
yeah,
Rand does it to Avienda, to Elaine. So
dude, Elaine's the only one who hasn't been like fucked by the Dragon Reborn yet. So you think Savannah's gonna have it doesn't have a chance, dude.
I don't.
Doesn't have a
Yeah,
fucking
I don't know, Savannah. She has the oath rod though now, so it's
chance.
like she can force him to do anything she wants if she can get him to hold it
Yeah.
firmly and swear on it. Um,
Oh please. What else happened in this chapter? Then weren't they torturing
yes,
Galena? They're
yes,
torturing her. But I remember, because this was like the first chapter we read. Like, obviously, we're reading 10 chapters a week, so it's gonna be kind of hard for me to remember everything that happens in kind of like the first couple chapters if it's not something huge. But like what I do kind of remember is that Galena just being like, "Oh, the torture, like it sucks, but I gotta bear with it, make them think I'm on their side, and then I will strike and kill them." And then they do the oath rod on her, and then one of the wise ones, I can't remember who, but was just like, "Okay, now ask her if she had any plans to kill one of us, and if she did,
yeah.
have her apologize and ask her and say to punish me." And then she immediately said that and was like scared shitless, and I was just like, that is, I mean, the first part of this book for me was kind of slow and a little boring, but like, and a lot of people I've seen reviews on said this book was like the worst one. But dude, I'm gonna fucking hyped. Like so far, like the middle of this book has been so good,
Yeah, it's
and
been
that's
really
where I
good.
think like that.
Yeah, I mean the implications of having something this powerful, the oath rod making anyone you want be completely subservient to you. I mean that's insanely powerful. That's more
Yeah,
powerful than any other artifact that's been. I mean we've been talking about the bowl for 5,000 chapters. This
yeah.
thing is so much more powerful than the bowl. I
well,
mean,
well, the pole made it snow allegedly.
right,
There,
true.
that's a very very hot summer. You know,
Yeah, it's getting a little too hot, you know.
a little too hot.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right. Yeah, Galena was getting tortured, and she was talking about, oh, I'm just gonna, do everything I can to pretend that I'm gonna obey them, but then she's literally magically forced
Yeah,
to the
and
degree where she'll literally say anything that they want, which is
yeah,
insane.
and
So
do anything they
yeah,
want. I mean,
it's kind of
and
scary, honestly. Like,
yeah, it's terrifying.
yeah,
Because because like the difference between like this and the collar, I think, is that like the collar, you could still resist if you wanted to, but the pain, like the physical pain of it all, basically you change your mindset into doing what, like it's a real good mental attack too, because they physically harm you until the point to where you do what they want you to do, and you mentally start to adapt to it.
yeah,
But with this oath rod, it's almost the complete opposite, because they're not gonna physically harm you unless, like, they don't need to physically harm you. All they have to say is do this, and your body automatically does it. Like, you could think differently, but no matter what, your body will do or say anything they tell you to do once you've sworn on this oath rod. And to me, I don't know what's scarier. Like, you're like a prisoner in your own body for this one, and you're conscious of it, and then the other one, you're just so emotionally and mentally damaged that you just give into it and just become this new person. So honestly, it's honestly kind of terrifying.
yeah, they're both horrible, obviously.
Yeah.
This one I think is a little bit worse, just because with the collar, at least we know you can take it off, and then you don't have to listen to them, obviously, anymore. But with this oath rod, I mean, we don't know yet, but it doesn't seem like there's going to be an easy way to break that, considering the oath rod that the Aes Sedai use is like revered, and it's.
Mm.
I don't think they've mentioned a way to really break it unless you become a dark friend, which in this case,
Yeah.
obviously, Galena did previously. But yeah, I mean,
And
this is crazy, and Galena's arc is interesting too, because obviously she was the one of the people torturing Rand when he was in the box,
yeah.
and
And
you
oh,
don't.
sorry.
Or no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and she was, or is, or was the leader of the Black Aja.
Right, yeah, and
So
yeah.
you can continue.
No, I mean it's her arc is interesting because obviously you don't feel bad for her when she's the head of the Black Aja and she's torturing Rand unnecessarily. But
Mm.
now, you get to the point where she's been tortured. I mean, even before this oath rod thing, I mean, they were torturing her a lot, right?
Oh yeah,
And
like the
we know the
shadow.
Aiel are they have no mercy for like anything. So, obviously, and especially the Shido, which are like the extreme version of the
Yeah,
Aiel, like they don't even believe that they don't even really trust Rand. So they're definitely the most extreme. So she's been
yeah.
tortured all this time, and then now she's sworn to this oath rod where she doesn't have any choice. So you kind of feel a little bit bad for her. At least I do a little bit. She's obviously not a good person, but
I really liked what you said there when you said that that the shadow are basically the extreme version of the Aiel, because now I'm never now when we continue reading, I want to think of, like, are there other, like, within, like, the culture setup of this world, what are, like, the other extremes of a specific culture being compared to others, because there's a lot of culture in this series, but honestly, there might be there a lot where I get overwhelmed. I can't really remember all of them, so I need to take time to go through them. But with this one, with the Aiel, you have like the Shadow of the Extremists, and the other Aiel following ran are kind of like your average Aiel. But now I'm thinking, is there other stuff like that, but with like the Illianers or the um, Sanchan and all the
Yeah,
other
yeah,
million different people? Like, and I'm
yeah,
just saying we should keep an eye out for those type of things.
definitely,
Just in case it could be interesting to talk about.
definitely.
But I didn't really feel bad for her at all, to be honest. Like I'm glad you did, but like because because of what they did to Ran, like I think it was like 2 books ago by now or something,
Yeah.
and and just being part of like the Black Aja, being the Dark One, and not only that, just being like Aes Sedai just pissed me off. I mean, I've liked a lot of the main girls in this book actually compared to the following books, but uh, for the most part, Aes Sedai pissed me off, and so when I see like shit like this, I'm like, yeah, fuck you. So
Yeah.
that's just me.
No, that's very fair. I mean, I'm not saying she doesn't necessarily deserve it. Obviously, being the head of the Black Aja, I'm sure she's murdered and tortured numerous people at this point. But yeah, the idea of like you just being completely subservient to someone and they can literally do anything they want with you and you have no control over it is just like it seems like it's a fate that's worse than being
Yeah,
tortured or dying. I'd rather just die. Or I'd rather just be
yeah,
tortured or rather just die.
yeah. I mean, either way, you're being tortured,
Yeah.
but you're gonna be praying. You're gonna be praying for
I'd rather be
death.
normal tortured. Okay, Josh. Obviously,
Yeah.
he's introduced many different kinds now, but
Oh yeah, and he's glossed over others. We don't need to get back. We don't need to get the crime conversation again.
yeah. My God.
But uh, what do you? So what do you think of? So this oath rod? Do you think it works the same as the one in the tower? They're just making them swear oaths to different different oaths, or do you think both of them are different and have different powers? Or
Yeah,
can yeah? What do you think?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I mean, I think they're separate. I think they're separate. Maybe they're like related to each other. Like they're both magical objects, obviously, like the Angreal or whatever. But I feel like it's separate just because this one just seems so much more extreme. Going back to like the Shido being extreme, like the Oath Rod that the Aes Sedai use. Maybe it does function the same as this one if you swear on that Aes Sedai one as you do Galena did. I guess there's no real way to know that, but this Oath Rod definitely seems to me at least to be like more extreme, like a more dark version.
Yeah, because
What do
I
you think?
mean, because so I think that both the oath rods are like the same thing. I mean, they may look different. I don't know if they do. I can't really remember the descriptions for both. I'm just going to be honest there. But but what I was thinking is that if you had the one in the tower, the oath rod in the tower, but force them to give the same oath they did with this one, that it would do the same thing. Because I think it's just like it's kind of like when you go to the grocery store, right, and you go to buy like an apple, like, and you see a mountain of apples. They're all apples, you know. So you take one apple, take a bite, it's going to taste like all the other ones, but it's a different apple, you know. So
Yeah.
I think that's like the same with the oath rods, is that they all do the same thing, but the culture of those people are using it for different things.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I mean, I think your theory is backed up, I think, by the fact that they refer to it as just an oath rod. They don't refer to it as a different artifact, right? It's just an oath rod. There's not anything to really differentiate it from the Aes Sedai one except for how it's used. which is to create obedience within Galena. But
Yeah,
yeah, no, that makes sense. That
but
makes sense for sure.
what
What else in this chapter?
that's honestly it's honestly really all I had besides for like them wanting to go to the mountains because I honestly didn't really remember that part, but now it's kind of coming back to me. But now I don't know if it's like a false memory or or what.
Yeah, so
But
them going to the mountains. I think the only thing to really glean from that, obviously they needed to move because the Shan Chan are quickly taking, and we're going to get into that as we get deeper into these chapters, obviously, because Robert Jordan is kind of creating the rising action of the Shan Chan becoming a real threat, you know,
it's
and
about
Rand
damn
has to
time.
respond. But so they have to move into the mountains to avoid the Shan Chan. I think the only thing to really glean from this was that the Therava, the wise one within the Shido, like the head wise one, was the one who basically told Savannah that she has to move into the mountains. So previously, Savannah was the sole controller of the Shido. You know, she was the clan chief. They listen to her, whatever she wants to do. But now this Therava character, this wise one, is kind of taking some of the control away from Savannah by ordering her what to do. So that's really the only thing I could really glean from that. But other than that, I don't think there's much else in this chapter, unless there's anything else you wanted to talk about.
Oh, not really. I guess we didn't really go into detail about like the type of tortures they were doing on
Oh
her,
yeah.
but I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't really think it's really too necessary. I mean,
Yeah, I mean it was extreme. It looks looking at his quote here is hanging in a leather sack above a brazier of hot coals for slapping one of the Shido.
you just I know you can't pronounce that. You're not
Yeah,
Belinda.
whatever
I
that
don't.
is.
I listened to the audiobook. Well, we both do. So whenever I see shit written down,
Yeah,
I'm just kind of like I'm like, oh, what the fuck? Like the whole shadow thing, like the fourth book, Rise of the Shadow. I always assumed it was talking about the Aiel, but now that I'm actually seeing it shadow written down, I'm like 8 books in, and now I'm like, oh, so the fourth book was the title was referencing the Dark One, not the uh whatever the fuck they're called.
yeah. We have to like cross reference it in our brain to like what we listened
Yeah.
to in the audiobook. Okay,
Oh,
well,
next chapter, I
yeah, next
guess.
chapter here. So chapter 12, which is new alliances. Mogadine and Sindane visit Grandel and try to make her obey Moradin, which is that new Forsaken guy who seems to be like the lieutenant of the Dark One. Grandel later knees in front of Shider Haran, which is the huge Murdral, the like head Murdral. Cadsuane and Soralia swear a water oath to make Rand be able to laugh and cry again, which is just fucking weird, but
No, it's because if they don't, then he's gonna become uh, a hard ass and be
yeah,
very
yeah.
mean. And what was
I guess we
damn?
gotta tickle him. We gotta tickle him, Soralia.
Yeah. I should have wrote that quote down because I was at work when I was listening to it, but it was like a really good quote where it was like a man has to be strong and strong as like stone and steel or some shit like that. And I don't know. They have to be. Damn, I can't remember. Maybe it'll say it in here. Damn. Well, anyway, it was a really good quote that said like I'll have to look it up later, but the gist of it was is that a man has to be strong, but he also has to be able to feel. Because if they're hard all the time, then they're just gonna be basically a jackass, be mean and
Yeah.
make very very harsh decisions. But they also need to feel like love, compassion, and all that. And I guess that's what they were talking about towards the end of the chapter was like they have to make him laugh and cry again because if they don't, then he might end up just, even if he beats the Dark One, it might not be a world worth living in,
Yeah.
when he's done with it. And
Listen, men have
so
feelings too. Okay.
yeah, then I
But no,
cry.
like in
I do.
seriousness, yeah, no, in all seriousness, yeah, you're right. Like, and we've talked about that previously. Like Rand becoming more of a hard ass and less empathetic and less emotional. He's just become kind of more and more like a robot.
Yeah, and I'm really waiting for it to 180. I don't think it'll be for a couple more books. I mean, I don't know, but we'll see. But Moradin, so he is the nameless, right? Like all the dark ones, or the all the, I don't know why I'm blanking on all these titles. There's too many titles in
I
this,
know, right? Yeah,
series.
Moradin is like the
Forsaken, yeah.
yeah
There we
Forsaken.
go.
Yeah, he's one of
So
the newer Forsaken.
yeah, so it's like all the Forsaken are competing to become the Nameless,
Hmm.
and so is Moradin. I don't know if you remember. So is he the Nameless now?
Can't
So like he was.
remember if he's the nameless, but I believe he's working towards it. I do know he's like the most in favor Forsaken, obviously, right now. Like the Dark One likes him the most of the Forsaken right now.
Yeah, because I think I remember Grendale saying like who are you? Like the Dark One wouldn't name some random nameless, and I don't
Yeah,
even know who you are. So it's, or she said something like that. So I was just kind of like, this is getting interesting, because now I'm just like, who is this guy? But then you have this. What'd you say his name was? His name was like
Shidar
Shadar
Haran. Yeah, the huge
Haran.
merger all, which is he's kind of like the
Yeah,
mouth of Sauron. Is kind of how I
yeah.
view him. Yeah.
Hey, spoilers for Return of the King, bro.
yeah.
All for all zero of you guys listening out there. No, I'm just kidding. But but yeah. I guess he kind of is. Well, the mouth of Sauron. I don't really remember did much, but this
no.
guy. This guy, we haven't really seen him do anything. We're only described of like his presence and how everyone feels around him,
Mhm.
and he's kind of a spooky guy. So
Yeah. I mean, the only thing he's done so far, I believe, is I mean, he tortured Mogadine, and then that's about it. Really, he's just kind of yeah, like you
yeah,
say, just kind of scary.
I'm like I wouldn't want to be next to this guy.
Yeah, he's definitely very creepy.
But what were your thoughts on when Mogadine and how do you say that, Sindane?
Yeah,
Sindane?
Sindane, which is a
Sindane?
new character.
Okay. Yeah. When they walked in and Grendel was like the whole conversation they were having, and Grendel was like, "What schemes are you doing, Mogadine? 'Cause this is like the type of shit she would do, be in the
Yeah,
background, trick people."
yeah,
And so, I guess, what did you think of that whole experience?
yeah. I feel like it's kind of symbolic of the Dark One kind of taking a more active role in the Forsaken, like you talked about earlier, all the Forsaken are kind of competing with each other. He's put a Nameless in, which is Moradin, or is gonna be soon, probably if he accomplishes his task, and he's kind of ordering around everyone. And like Mogadine and Sindane are just some of his like disciples. But Grendel, obviously, in the beginning, is like, "Oh, you can't tell me what to do. Like, I can do whatever I want. I'm a Forsaken." But then the Dark Ones made it clear that she needs to like rein it in, and he's probably going to do that with the rest of the Forsaken. He's kind of reining them in. When like in the last few books, he hasn't really done that. He's kind of just let them do what they want and just cause
Yeah,
his only orders. I think in the last few of the books were like just create chaos, but now it's
yeah.
kind of like he's focusing a little more.
hmm I I really enjoyed the character dynamic between like Mogadane and Grendel, because like if I remember correctly, through the previous books, whenever they would come into contact or at least be noticed about one another, it's always like, I'm better than you. No, I'm better than you.
Right.
So then when it gets to this point where Mogadine is basically this new character's Sindane, I'm gonna butcher it every single time. But like now that their relationship changed, where Mogadine is basically a slave to Sindane, uh, Grendel's all confused, and so I really like the whole dynamic there of like even the Forsaken kind of gets some character. I guess would you call it character development? Because I don't know if they're really changing much. We're just kind of getting more of their personality. So they're
Yeah.
not so because we don't get much of the Forsaken. So it was really nice to see how they react in these situations compared to what we've seen them before. I
Yes.
guess it's exciting, especially when I know last episode or we talked. I mentioned how I feel like they killed off all the good villains at the beginning of the book. Uh, like Beelzemon is still my favorite out of everyone. I will never not love that character. Uh, so him and then uh, what was
Samuel.
yeah, Samuel,
Um,
and what was the Lanfear?
Ravine, the
Yeah,
one who
so
was
like
controlling Morghese.
yeah. So it's like all those people were built up through the first 3 to 5, 6 books, right? And so now we're getting these new characters in that I'm liking a lot better than like Grendel or Mogadane. Like I like Mogadane. Grendel I don't really care for, and that was kind of like the problems I was having with the current cast of villains. Because after like all the good ones that I liked died, it was kind of like oh, who do we have left? Oh, we have these people. Then let's just kill off Samuel after not talking about him for a book and a half. And I'm
Yeah.
just like okay. So what I'm saying is like I'm hoping with these new characters being introduced, showing how much they control or how overpowered they are compared to the modern villains we got. Makes me more excited for the villain side because I know it makes me think at one point it's gonna 180, and I'm just waiting for the excitement of these villains to kind of return. Is kind of what I gotta say.
Yes,
So
I can completely agree with that. I do feel like we're missing a good antagonist right now, like a good villain, like you said, and hopefully Moradin and the Shidar Haran guy can take on those roles more. I mean, with Mogadine, I'm actually somewhat interested in Mogadine just because I mean there's a lot of tragic characters lately in these last few books. Mogadine, obviously being a dark one and being a horrible person, doesn't mean that she didn't deserve like being tortured and like assaulted by Shadar Haran, but you do feel a little bit bad for her because she basically gets broken by him and then like now is just like a slave. But similar to Galena, to be honest. But yeah, it's she's had an interesting arc because in the beginning when she first fought Nynaeve, you know, Nynaeve beat her, and then she was trying to like get back at Nynaeve all these times, and like they had a kind of a dynamic where like Nynaeve was always fighting Mogadine,
mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden she's just like completely eviscerated by being tortured and stuff, and now she's kind of just like there. She's just like a shell of
Yeah,
herself at this point. So
I
you
guess
see her there.
that was a good. Sorry,
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was like that's good. That's a good point with Mogadine because, like you said, she did have her run-ins with Nynaeve a whole lot, and she even like she broke Nynaeve like in the circus book.
Yeah.
I think it was the Fires of Heaven.
Yes, it
I
was.
think it's
Yeah, pretty sure.
but yeah. It was when she thought like she got that Mogadine killed Brunetta, right? Brunetta,
Brigida. Yeah.
Brigida, Jesus, Brigida. It's there because I never have to say the names out loud, so like I listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm the same.
anyway, so like Nynaeve gets like in the dream world gets gets stripped of all her clothes, tortured, tied up by Mogadine, and then eventually gets saved. But when she like comes out of the dream, she's all fucked up, and she thinks that she had one of the people who were supposed to fight in the last battle when the horn was blown. She thought she got him killed, and then that's a whole thing. So uh, I did kind of forget about all this stuff. So you know what? I'm kind of interested about Mogadine, and then Mogadine became Egwene's bitch for a little bit with
Yeah.
the collar.
Yeah, she
But
had a
dude,
whole 180 where she was like just
yeah, and then she escaped, and now she's on the loose again. But now she's this person's slave. So I guess we have remembering Mogadine's kind of past. I'm kind of liking it. But I do miss Osmodian. I think I think he was killed off way too soon, but I can see why they did it because Rand's already becoming super overpowered even back then. So if he still had Osmodian, I think it would just be like, okay, where do we go now with Rand? Because he's just going to be unstoppable. So, but that's kind of a shame because like him and I know why Beazamon had to die, but Osmodian, I feel like I wish we had like at least one more book with the guy.
yeah, I know we talked about his character. He definitely could have been more fleshed out and had his own arc, kind of like some of these other Forsaken are having.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah. Is
Anything
there?
else? Yeah, with chapter
Do you
12.
want to? Do you want to talk a little bit more about the Water Oath,
Yeah, yeah, we can
or
talk about that a little more. So,
do you
yeah.
remember much of it? Because what I said at the beginning was really all I kind of remember.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the main thing I think to take away from it, and that's all I mainly remember as well is like you have Cadsuane who is an ancient Aes Sedai, like one probably the oldest Aes Sedai and probably the strongest one. And then you have Soralia, who's also a. I don't believe she's very powerful with the power, but she's like a higher up wise one or whatever. So them becoming a team to try to make Rand,
Yeah,
it's
and
good because we've talked like going back to what we said when we were first talking in this chapter. We've obviously noticed Rand becoming more hard and not caring when you're essentially, you're the savior of the world, like you need to have more compassion. You
mhm.
don't want to be stooping to the dark one's level and like being a dick.
Yeah,
So
and like I know we've talked about this before too. Is where like Cad Swain says this a lot too, where she's like, God, Elida and those other Aes Sedai have made my job a lot harder. So now she has to like play a mind game with Rand, so that Rand is like, I need her, so he doesn't like just kill her or kick her out or whatever. So instead, like if like if they didn't do that to him and he was a little more trusting, it would have been easier for her to guide him and help him. But but then again, I mean, yeah, I think it would have been easier for her to get closer to Rand, but he still had Moraine's letter after she died, and she said not to trust any Aes Sedai. But I guess it really didn't hit him hard until he uh, got overpowered by uh, those other 13 and got tortured. So
right.
it'll be interesting because I don't know how they're gonna do it. That's the thing is how the fuck because he hates Aes Sedai right now, absolutely hates them. How the fuck are they? Well, Sorli, right? She's one of the
One of the
um
wise ones, yeah.
wise ones. Yeah, so I think it'd be easier for her. But I honestly have no idea what they're gonna do. Like, are they gonna throw him a birthday party or something? Like, I just have no idea.
Yeah. Send him some flowers. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know. I mean, there's got to be some kind of event where the Aes Sedai redeem themselves a little bit to him because I mean he needs them to win. So
yeah. That's all. That's all I had on chapter 12.
yeah, That's about all I had as well. We can go to the next one here. So chapter 13, which is floating like snow. Rand meets with the residues of the army Samael had been gathering and gives them a choice between going home unarmed or joining him. So this is kind of contrasting to what we just talked about with Rand being harder and not having as much compassion. He could have just killed all these people, obviously, but he kind of gives them a choice here to either join them or go home. He doesn't let them, and I remember I think he said, he doesn't let them just slip away, but at least he's not just killing all of them, I guess.
It's when I first got to this chapter, my first thoughts was finally some Rand. Like this is the one I care about most is like the Rand chapters.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like really into this chapter, but now it's one of the chapters I least remember. So, and I think it's mostly because I think most of the chapter was just Rand talking to a bunch of random people
Yeah.
and saying, "Hey, either do this or I'll kill you," or or um or he's just like, "This is what I'm gonna do," type of thing. Like it was one of those like transitioning chapters where it's like he's like setting the scene for Rand, but then all the like since we're doing 10 chapters, man, it's like all the other chapters that something interesting happened, like kind of stored in my brain rather than most of this chapter. So this
Yeah.
one's all up to you, I think.
Yeah. And I don't know if there's a ton to glean from this. I mean, we have the continuing theme here of people not respecting Rand, like saying here with the quote saying that they're not going to give him the due respect as the king of Ilion, even though he captured Ilion, um, which we've had that theme frequently, and I think even later on in the chapters, Elaine will kind of talk about how people don't necessarily respect him as a leader, but I don't know when that's necessarily going to change, where people are more, accepting of him being the Dragon Reborn. But we still kind of have this like lingering theme where like people are kind of resistant to his
Mm-hmm.
help.
And
But
that might be because he's a little too hard and they don't trust him. So like in
yeah,
the previous chapter where they're like, we need to soften him up a bit, and then we get straight into him and it's like he's a hard ass.
right.
No emotion. It's either his way or the highway. And I don't know, whenever you're trying to like convince someone to do what you want them to do, like trying to force them, you have to be you have to be a pretty threatening person, to really get someone to do what you want them to do if they don't want to do it. And they might do it, but then you can't trust them, because then they're going to have that resentment and they're not going to trust you for one. So it's like no one really trusts Rand, probably because he's an asshole, but he has to be an asshole or else no one will do what he says. So he kind of like he's put in a hard spot, especially everything he's been through.
Yes, and I'm sure this is part of his growing pains, learning how to lead and not be a hard ass.
Yeah, he needs land to train him some more.
Yeah, he definitely needs to allow more advisors for sure.
Stop being an asshole, sheep herder.
Yeah, because he has all
Yeah, I don't.
these nobles trying to tell him what to do, but they're stupid. So
Yeah, sorry for anyone who wanted more from this chapter, but I'm
Nah.
sorry.
I mean, some of these
Uh,
chapters, like you said, it's kind of more a transitional chapter. So
is Do you remember? Did Rand see the snow at all in this chapter? Like, did he make a comment or anything? Do you remember? Because this does say floating like snow.
yeah, I can't
Um,
remember.
I
This is where they also noticed that it's starting to snow because obviously up until this point it's been getting slowly hotter and hotter because of the weather changing from the dark one. But I assume this must be when they start noticing it.
yeah. And that's a pretty like the bowl. Like as much as we shit on it, like if people are starting to notice to where they're like, okay, when the dark one comes, it's gonna be hot as shit, you know, and then they're like, oh, there's snow. How the hell that happened? So if this bull, like obviously we don't know if the dark one's like actually released fully or not. I'm assuming he's not, but even just to have like a magical item or something that could change the weather in a time where the greatest evil is manipulating the weather and into his advantage, but to be able to counter that, I'd say is pretty significant.
Yeah,
So
no, I mean it's definitely important to be able to lower the temperature, especially when it could just keep getting hotter and hotter and people could just die.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
well,
I don't think there's anything
that's
else
all I have.
really in this
Yeah.
chapter, right?
It's like we're gonna get like that one comment that's like chapter 13 had this,
That's my
this, and this. I'm
favorite
like,
chapter in the entire series.
I've read all 14 books, and this was my favorite chapter. So I'm so sorry. I just can't. I don't remember. It's bedtime already.
Right. All right.
I'm old. All right.
Yeah, I'm also old.
Chapter 14.
All right.
Uh,
Message
message
from the
from
Mihail. Yeah, Mihail, that's right.
Isle.
Which is Mihail is Mazrim Taim, the dude training all the
Oh,
Ashaman.
oh
So
yeah, time.
yeah, Rand receives a letter from Taim about the status of the Black Tower and plans on attacking the Shan Chan.
Oh yeah, dude,
Yeah, so
this
this is
fucking chapter was nuts.
yes.
Loved this chapter.
Yeah,
Like,
you have a lot of stuff to unpack here. Obviously, with Rand hearing about the deserters among the Ashaman, um, and he's like really interested in that. You know, like who's deserting, and then he tells them, you know, like if they're deserting, you need to go find them and like bring them back or kill them.
mhm.
Which is a pretty
It
hardline stance. Which I mean, it makes sense because if you just let them run around free, they're gonna go insane, obviously, and kill people. But yeah.
yeah. What did they name the tree? Like that they were like hanging the heads from or
Yeah, they're
whatever.
just hanging the heads, which is like very like. I mean, we've talked about this. Like, Rand hates Mazrim Taim.
But doesn't know
Luz
why.
Theron also really hates him. Anytime he comes around, Luz Theron, you know, is like kill him right now.
Yeah.
So like obviously he's probably not a good person. So just making the head tree is just another
Yeah.
strike on the report card of Mazrim Taim. Head tree, that's pretty extreme.
Was that but was it Rand's idea or Taheem's? Like I can't remember.
I believe
Was
it
it? I'm
was
pretty sure.
Taim's. Yeah, he had already started it. And
Yeah,
and
that's
Rand was like okay with that though, like because I think Torval or whatever was like, hey, we're like making a head tree, and Rand's like, good,
yeah. It's like,
that'll
that's a
help.
great idea.
Yeah, it's like let's.
Well, it's
Yeah, it's like I
I
mean,
would
say what you will about the Aes Sedai,
like it.
they don't do stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah,
they're not
but
they're not hanging
but,
heads from the Tarvalin. I mean, my
yeah,
God.
but the men know what they're getting into because like they know if they study through the one power that they will go insane. Like
Right.
if Rand like if they don't go insane by the time they reach Shale Ghul, they're either gonna die or or go insane. So they know the end game here, right? And I'd assume most of them are attempting to not go insane before they beat the Dark One. Because if they beat the Dark One, get rid of the taint, then they're fine.
Yeah.
But they know going into this that it's possible to go insane, and so if you have like someone who's training with them and then gets a lot of the taint, but then wants to flee. He's like, "Oh, I don't want to do this anymore." Then you're sending basically a ticking time bomb into the world where he could either, if he's going insane, the Dark One could be like, "Hey, I'll make you not go insane and keep the powers, just gotta do what I say. And then they know they're crazy, so they're like, okay. Or they eventually go so crazy that they just start fucking killing everybody. Or like the dragon did before Rand. Luce Theron, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
How he killed what was her name?
Elena.
Javier? Oh,
Yeah.
Alina. Alina,
Elena.
my love.
Yeah.
Where are you? We have guests. That's a flashback to the prologue of the first book. Alright, the worm beneath my boot. But anyway, but yeah, so it's like the hanging tree is like, hey, if you run, we're gonna fucking kill you
Yeah.
because you're just too dangerous.
Yeah.
And so, and Rand trying to unite the entire fucking continent or the entire land to against the Dark One, it kind of makes sense that it's like sometimes it's probably better just to kill the guy than to let a crazy powered dude just go on a rampage.
Right.
That's my thoughts on it. Like, what did you do? You think it's too harsh, or did I change your mind?
I mean, it's pretty harsh for sure. I mean, I'm not surprised by Rand's reaction, I guess. I just feel like that's a dark friend like strategy. And obviously at this point we think Mazrim Taim is a dark friend, so I'm not surprised that he like implemented that strategy. But I understand why they do it because I mean you have like walking time bombs, right? You have walking time bombs with these Ashaman, so if they're just wandering around and they decide to leave and just go back to their farms or whatever, then like yeah, like you kind of need to scare them into not leaving because they're they're walking time bombs. Now, is there other ways to do that? Maybe instead of a head tree. I feel like that's just some shit that like the Shidar guy would do. He's like, let's just hang these heads from a tree. I don't know. I feel like the good guys should not do that, but I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, but
Right.
that's what I really like about this book series too. Is that like you see like how the good guys act, and you're just kind of like I get it, but you're like So
Yeah.
uh,
I mean, I think
another yeah.
maybe Rand will be like more compassionate later on in the series, but right now it's not surprising that he's like cool with that. I guess.
Yeah. 'Cause I think after this book, or maybe towards the end, they're gonna try to start trying to get him to change a little bit. So I don't think it'll be. Or book 8. I'm gonna take a guess. I'm just gonna say book 10 is my guess is when we're gonna start to see him change a little bit, because throughout these books, there's little changes here and there until eventually where book 8 ran is completely different from book 1 ran.
Right. Yeah.
So
Definitely.
I think we'll need like 2 more books till he eventually starts chilling out.
Yeah.
So and like another thing with these Ashimon going insane, like what was it, like around, I can't remember the exact number, but I'm pretty sure it was like around 50 have already gone nuts. And so like one guy thought like he like woke up in the middle of the night, right, thinking he was covered in spiders and there was nothing there. And so they like, what did they like slip him like a pill? I
Yeah.
can't remember.
Something
They
like
give him
that.
something.
Calm them down.
Kills them.
Oh yeah. No. Yeah. They did kill him. Can't
Yeah, with
remember.
I can't remember exactly what it was, but I'm pretty sure it was some sort of thing. I mean, obviously it was some sort of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, if you
Welcome to
think
the casual book club where we don't remember half the shit.
that we talked that we read about, it's high
Yeah.
quality entertainment. Look, listen. If you think the Oshamon are insane, just wait for the Pokemon.
Oh,
Fucking Charizard
yeah.
comes out and burns the head tree.
I'm not doing podcasts with you anymore. I'm just kidding. You think Pokemon's bad? Wait till you get to Digimon. Okay.
Oh no.
But what was your like reaction to Rand getting that letter, and then like about the Aes Sedai and being like,
Right.
oh, We might, because that's Egwene and her party going to
Yeah,
Tarvalin, right?
yeah.
So, and then Tahim, and then what was the other guy? The guy who gave Rand the letter. What was his
Torval.
name? Orbal. So then Orbal's just like, we may have to do something. Like, we can't trust these Aes Sedai. And then Rand's like, look, motherfucker.
Just slams him on the table, like, "Hey,
Yep.
man,
So
shut the
starts
fuck
like,
up."
don't make me Stephen King you. Like, I just that's for the next book. Okay. Anyway, but so that part was really cool because the whole time, like when Rand first talks to him, he's just like it's described as what was his name? Torval is what you said.
Yeah,
Is he's basically like it's described as him not really giving Rand the respect like he deserves. Like he's kind of like like he's still looking down on him in a way. Uh, and so then when Rand like gets angry and that shit, then he starts to like really like respect him, but not really out of respecting him, more out of fear. And so that's where I think Rand's whole persona is coming from, to where the only way he can get people to respect him is by being an angry cunt. So
yeah,
that so I think that's just like the theme of Rand right now. It's like the only way he can get people to respect him is by showing them how strong he is and that he is the Dragon Reborn, and to just do what he says or else. Which is not what we'd normally get from a protagonist. Like, could you remember? What would you think if like Frodo was like beating the shit out of Gollum? He was like, "Take me to the fucking volcano, you
right.
little frog bitch." Or
So,
else I'll beat you up. And it's like, no. Like, so this is like an interesting story, I feel like, where we get to see like
hey,
our chosen one, our hero, is like angry all the time.
right. Yeah, and then you have Bilbo. He's like, "What's in my pocket, Gollum?" And Gollum's like,
Yeah.
"What?" And then Bilbo's like, "My fucking fist, you bitch!" And then he beats the shit.
Also
No.
bottoms.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I think it is interesting you have a protagonist that's like having to use anger for sure. I guess my only issue with it is like his friends vilify him for it. You know, they're like, "Oh, you need to stop being such an asshole," but at the same time, it's like he has to be to get people like Torval
Yeah.
to listen to him. Well, and he also talks about how much he hates Torval. He he hates
Yeah.
Taim a lot, but he also hates Torval, which Torval seems to be like the second in command. It just seems like Taim is the worst. But
Yeah. So this is where the excitement comes in for me, because it's like, okay, we are theorizing that Tahim is a dark friend. Rand already doesn't like him, but he doesn't know why. Luce Luce Theron doesn't like him, but he won't say why. Rand doesn't like what was his name? I'm gonna forget this guy's name all the fucking time.
Torval.
Torval. Yeah, so he hates Torval. So he hates the first and second command of the Ashimon. So if we think Tahim is a dark friend, then it's probably safe to assume Torval probably is too. And if we have two dark friends training the Ashimon, uh, that sounds not good. So I'm
Yeah.
just like, that's why I'm getting excited. None of this is confirmed yet. It is, but we don't know. We don't know shit. We're reading it as we go. So it's like, this is what excites me, because I don't know what's going to happen. And I think it's building up to the Ashimon eventually just doing some evil shit, because maybe they'll go crazy, maybe they'll just turn over to the dark side or whatever.
Yeah.
What do you think, I guess?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's definitely building the case that Taim is a dark friend, that he's putting dark friends in power within the Ashaman, and that he's training a fucking dark friend army. Because it's like the
Yeah.
head tree thing, and then, yeah, I mean, Rand hating him for no reason, and Luce Theron despising him.
Hmm.
Um,
The weird thing is why do you think Luce Theron doesn't like because when he saw Samuel or when he saw Gabriel or when he saw all these other people, he always like mentioned something about them in the past, like he talked about them. But when he sees Tahim, he's just like, God, just kill him, God. Why don't you just kill him already? I don't like him, God. And it's like, dude, what? Why is this guy so different? Like, why aren't you giving us any context like you do with everyone else? And that's what kind of mystifies him for me because I'm just
Yeah, no, for sure.
like who are you, Tahim? Who are you? How
It'll
did you
be
go so long without going mad?
yeah. I mean that part is very sus.
Oh,
I mean that's like,
I
come on.
mean, Rand's been like this has to be what 2 years, 3 years. Did I just Google it? I really have no idea.
It's probably like 2 or 3 years, and I mean he's going a little insane. So I mean Taim has been at it for I think they said like 10 or 20 years of not going insane. So I mean I don't know.
Oh, so I guess this says that the books cover a span about 3 years.
Oh, okay.
So we're on book 8, but I don't know if there's any um time skips, which I don't think there will be.
I think it's like a year. The only time skip we really had was when they were doing the dimension thing in the third book, and they like it was a few months before they came out of the other dimension or whatever.
Oh.
But
I
I
found a timeline on Wiki, but I don't want to click it because I don't know if there's spoilers. So,
right, yeah. I mean, it's probably
I'll just
safe to
click.
assume it's like a year or two, right? Because
Oh yeah,
we're
I'm
past the
gonna
halfway
assume
point.
for a year and a half.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna say year and a half, but I don't know.
right.
But
Yeah.
it
Well,
was easier to keep track after like the first couple books, but now I'm like, I don't fucking know.
we're too deep in.
Yeah,
That's where you come for this podcast
like
is
yeah,
this high level analysis.
yeah. I don't know how many years it's been. I'm 8 books in. I don't know shit. Welcome to episode 2. uh,
Yeah, so those
yeah,
two we had those first 2 points, right? The first one being the head tree.
yeah,
The second one being this Aes Sedai issue where Torval insinuates that they should attack them, and then Rand's like, no. And then the third part, which is I feel like the most important part, is the other guy coming in and saying the Shan Chan are trying to take Ilion, which Rand is in right now. So it's
yeah.
like Rand's like, okay, we gotta mobilize to fight them.
hmm
So
I
we,
don't really remember too much about this section, so I'll let you take. You can
I mean,
talk
that was
about
pretty
that.
much it. Like the person came in, said, the Shan Chan are moving to take Ilion. I believe Torval didn't think it was true. But Rand was like, no, I mean, I could believe that, and so he starts to create a plan to like mobilize his army to possibly deal with that threat. So Robert Jordan probably just kind of setting up more rising action to the when they inevitably have to fight the Shan Chan.
Yeah, because like the Sanchan were very active in like the second book, and then they like, but that ever since they got their ass kicked in the second book, they haven't really started showing up till the very end of the last book. Or no, they showed up like halfway through because they defeated the White Cloaks, right? So the defeated it was the Sanchan that defeated the White Cloaks, right?
Yeah, I don't know if they defeated them, but they did like fight with them. Yeah, I remember that. Or
Yeah,
yeah, no,
because
yeah,
like
you're right. They took that like city and everything.
yeah, because that's how Morghese
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
them escaped. Yeah, that whole thing. So so yeah, so that's when they got their first W. So, uh,
Yeah, they've been taking a lot of L's prior to that.
and it's like they show up in the second book, and then they show up in the seventh book. So
Yes.
it's like honestly, by the seventh book, I almost forgot about the Sanchan. So I
Yeah,
was like,
right. They were kind of hanging out for a while.
but that battle in the second book was just so cool.
Yeah, it was
Like
crazy.
Rand's in the fucking sky fighting Bazomon, and the whole time you think it's the Dark One, and it's just fucking, it's just so cool.
Yeah.
Back then when you thought Egwene and Rand were gonna end up together, and now it's like there's no fucking way.
Well, Savannah,
Rand,
you have to go through Savannah now too.
I
Egwene
got.
wasn't in line, so.
Yeah, I don't remember her in Min's visions, so I don't think it's gonna happen. You know. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, just in case you didn't think I actually read the books, I did.
Yeah, we
So
started on book 8,
yeah,
didn't read any of the other books. We just decided Path of Daggers is the one we're gonna start on.
started.
Didn't read any
It's
of the other ones.
because it was the shortest one, and I'm not a reader.
That'd be hilarious.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it for chapter 14. Just those three
Oh,
pieces.
there's one more thing. It was super important. Was at the because we had Luce Theron disappeared.
Oh yeah. I remember now.
And it finally reappeared
Yeah.
at the end of this chapter, and honestly, I haven't really noticed Luce Theron not really being there, besides for the times where they mention him not being there.
Right.
And I think it's because we haven't gotten as much Ran as I would like.
Yeah. He kind of was absent for a while. Then finally
Yeah,
comes back here, and Rand gets to have a Joker laugh. So,
yeah.
fun time.
Fucking nobles walk in, scared shitless. It reminds me of I think it was the fourth book where Ran was first starting to get tired of their shit, and they're like in that room, and Rand's just like, "Get the fuck out of here! Get the fuck out of here!" And then all the nobles are like running all over themselves. And I think it was book 4. I think it was. I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, we can go to the next chapter if you want.
Okay. So, chapter 15, Stronger Than Written Law. Egwene dreams about Rand, Perrin, and Mat. She meets with Gareth Bryn and decides to meet with Erethel and Pelavar. So, the first part, obviously, here with the dreams. We hadn't talked a lot about Egwene dreaming. Obviously, she's like the dreamer or whatever, and some of her dreams are like men, where they're predictions. So she has a dream for each, and I'll just talk about each dream here just so we can recount it. So the dream for Rand is Rand wearing different masks until one becomes him. So that's kind of an allusion to what we've already talked about, I feel like. But the second dream, Perrin and a tinker hacking through brambles that scream with human voices that they didn't hear until they they're going towards a cliff that they're going to fall off of. And then Mat weighing 2 Aes Sedai on a balanced scale, and his decision is very important. So, kind of dissecting each dream. The first dream, wearing different masks until one becoming him. I mean, I feel like a lot of what we've been talking about summarizes with this dream, right? Rand, having become a hard ass when he's not really a hard ass, but having to become that, and he's still kind of deciding what kind of leader he is, and deciding the best way to lead. At least that's the way I interpret that. I don't know if you interpret it in a different way.
My first thought was that the masks was like him and then Luce Theron.
Yeah, true.
And like the voices in his head. And then like him becoming one was either Luce Theron taking control or Rand taking control. And that, I think, so it either might be him losing control and Luce Theron takes over for a little bit, or Rand with the help of Cadswain, he would find a way to block the taint.
Yeah,
but
okay.
But I do like your thoughts on it as well, because with I mean, it can be interpreted however, like the many masks, like sure. Rand has to like put on a face for the nobles, a face for his friends, right. And then a face towards his followers. Right. So it's like I do like your analysis on it as well.
Yeah. With Perrin and a tinker hacking through brambles, obviously the tinker being Aram.
Yeah.
Is like basically his lieutenant. Screaming with human voices that they weren't able to hear and going towards a cliff that they didn't know was there.
Bro, I have no fucking
I
idea.
don't either, honestly. This one's a lot harder to interpret, I feel like, because there's a lot going on with this one. Like with the Rand one, it's very clear. At least like it's easier to interpret because it's just one thing. It's just Rand wearing different masks until he becomes himself. But with this, it's like okay, you got Perrin and Aram, so like both of them going through brambles, screaming with human voices. So like interpreting that, I guess them killing people inadvertently, or like maybe them, trying to reach a goal and killing people on the way and not realizing that they're harming people on the way, which is weird because obviously Perrin is, of all the characters in this book, Perrin is the most cognizant of hurting people. I feel
Yeah.
like.
Oh, by far, dude. He says it all the time.
Now Aram is a little bit more bloodthirsty. I feel like he likes to fight, but he does anything that Perrin says. So like I don't think he's gonna do anything without Perrin telling him to do something. But it's weird to have that dream when we know that Perrin isn't gonna he's gonna try his best to not inadvertently hurt people compared to the other characters. And then in the ending part of this dream where going to a cliff that they don't see, I feel like it's fairly straightforward metaphor where like they don't understand that when they get to the end of what their goal is, it's not it's a trap or something like that. But
Yeah,
I just don't know what that could be.
it's like I'm starting to. Well, so I think that like when it comes to the dreams and as well as like men's predictions, is that I think they're written like riddles, and with riddles, most of the time, if you're not good at riddles, if you have to know the answer to the riddle to get the riddle.
Right.
So I think like a lot of these dreams is like once we like finish the series, right? And then we if we went back and read these dreams and we'd be like, "Oh, I know exactly what that means." So that's another thing that's kind of exciting about these is like being able to guess what they are because I don't know about you, I like riddles. I'm terrible at them, but that's why I like Lord of the Rings, I guess. But
Yeah, no, I also enjoy them. I'm not very good at them either, but it's always cool to kind of try to interpret them.
yeah, so Aaron and the Tinker hacking through brambles that screamed with human voices they did not hear. So I wonder if, for me, I wonder if that just like means like Perrin and the Tinker do some sort of event or some sort of thing that kills a bunch of people, but they don't know that it's doing that. And then that might be like a super simplistic way of analyzing it, obviously, but uh, I honestly have no other idea what that
Yeah,
could mean.
and I don't
And
know.
then
Yeah, no, go ahead.
going like maybe like going to a cliff that they didn't know was ahead, like going into a trap. But then when I put both of them together, that maybe it's because like what Perrin and the Tinker do, so they're like going into a trap that ends up making like ends up hurting a lot of people because so now that I'm thinking about the whole trap thing, because Perrin is sent to stop the what are they calling him? Like the prophet,
Yeah,
like the
the
dragon
Prophet and the
prophet,
Dragon Sworn, which is kind of
the
like the
dragon.
Shido, like the extreme followers of Rand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good analysis. This whole book has like extreme. Then we got like the shadow,
Yeah,
and then the prophet.
a lot of
So it's like
extremists.
so I wonder because I don't think the prophet is gonna want to give up because the prophet says, "Oh, I've talked to the Lord Dragon. He wants to do this," and it's like we all know he's not talking to fucking Rand, right?
No, he's
So
insane.
so I think what he's gonna try to do is he's gonna set up a trap against Perrin and them and try to like kill them off somehow. So I
Yeah,
think
sure.
that's what the dream is relating to is that because Perrin still wants to like because he's like Rand said to bring him back and have him join forces, but then everybody else the wise ones and everything is like, no, you gotta kill him. Like, this guy's
Right. Yeah.
crazy. He's not going to be a good ally. You got to kill him. So I think the dream is basically stating that Perrin is not going to do what the wise ones want. He's going to want to do what Rand told him to do. But in doing so, he's going to end up leading everyone into a trap, which is going to end up killing a lot of his followers.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very sound analysis. I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
But who knows?
I mean, we don't know, but I feel like that's a pretty good prediction. Just where they're at right now, like where Perrin's at right now, trying to deal with the Prophet.
Yeah,
Because
take.
he has a little bit of Galad in him where he like tries to do the right thing almost too much. Like Rand told him to do a job, he's like trying to fulfill the job to the letter. And it's like you don't always need to do that. But Perrin has a little bit of that where he's like, "Oh, I need to do it right." And like which is commendable, but sometimes it's not the best course of action.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like young Bull needs to learn how to take care of some shit
Yeah.
sometimes. You don't always have to follow orders. Rand doesn't know this guy's a crazy bastard.
Yeah. You need to
Or maybe he
be
does. I don't know.
yeah, you need to be young bull, not young bullshit. Young
Yeah.
ball sack.
Hell yeah. No, I'm gonna find that once we're done recording. I'm gonna find that. I'm gonna make that my ringtone as you just saying
Okay.
that.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
All right. All right. You want
All right,
you want to go through the next dream?
this third dream. So Matt weighing two Aes Sedai on a balanced scale, and his decision is really important. And I know it's been alluded to before, and well, not even alluded, just like mentioned previously in this series, where Matt's gonna have to make a decision at some point in this series that is a really important decision, and people will die because of it. Like really important people will die, and it's and he has to survive until the last battle because he has to make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
So now we know that it concerns two Aes Sedai. I don't think that was mentioned previously. I know that Min. I don't know if it was Min or whoever else that predicted that. That was like, you have to survive because you're going to make a big decision. Um. Now we know it's two Aes Sedai.
Mm-hmm.
Now which two Aes Sedai, we don't know. Obviously, the main female characters, it could be any of those that he has to like maybe pick between, and one of them will die. But,
Yeah, there's only two I could think of, and that's gonna be either. Well, it's either gonna be Egwene, Nynaeve, or Elaine. I mean, let's
yeah,
be honest.
yeah, those are the three main ones. Yeah,
Like it isn't gonna be. It isn't gonna be so. Those are the only Aes Sedai Matt gives a shit about. And actually, you know what? Actually, seeing how Aes Sedai is spelled for the first time after reading 8 books through the audiobooks, I honestly, I would have spelled it wrong because I did not think it was spelled like that.
me either. If
So
you're someone who has only read the books and you read it like, if I only read the books and I read the word like that, I would not pronounce it Aes Sedai.
no, I'd be like ACD,
Yeah,
ACD,
ACDC.
ACDI. Just like yeah. So that's why I like the audiobooks, but actually I do prefer the audiobooks. I like read. I do read too, but uh, what the fuck, dude? I'd be fucking this book up. I could not read this.
The audiobooks are nice for like pronunciation, for sure.
Yeah. Uh, so yeah, Matt weighing two Aes Sedai on a balanced scale, and his decision was very important. Uh, yeah, definitely it's gonna be obviously Elaine, Egwene, or Nynaeve, and I think if I had to pick two of them, I'm just gonna say Nynaeve and Egwene, and that's only because of Rand's order to get them back. But then Nynaeve has Lan with her all the time now, so at some point in the future, it might be between Egwene and Elaine, or yeah, no, yeah, Egwene or Elaine. Jesus. So,
Similar
uh,
names.
yeah, it's like I have to bring this up. So when I was reading reviews of some of the books before we got to them, uh, I remember around book 5 and 6, there were some reviews saying that the audiobooks mispronounced Elaine's name and started calling her Elaine. Well, Elaine is one of the Aes Sedai with Egwene right now. No, wait, no, yeah, Elaine. All right, these names are fucking me up. It was Elaine and Elena, or something like that. But anyway, the misinterpretation of that is that Elaine is with Nynaeve and Elena or whatever is with Egwene. So it's kind of like, you know, when we were reading the first book, and I told you that I thought Tam was with them the entire book, but it was actually Lan, and I just got confused on the name. So the whole book, I thought Tam was Lan.
Yeah, Nynaeve married Tam, which is also Rand's father. So now Nynaeve is
He has to be
Rand's
my
mom.
brother.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, names. But yeah, so yep. All right, what else happened?
All right. Let's see here. So this is setting up for later in the chapters. Bryn tells her that there's the army of Andorans and there's an army of Mirandians that are on its way, you know, towards where their camp is. So this is a big moment for Egwene, I feel like, because she's the Amerlin and she's very young and inexperienced, but she has a very volatile situation potentially in front of her, right? You have these two fucking huge armies from two countries coming down to a huge Aes Sedai rebel encampment. So this is like her one of her big moments to do what the Amerlin is supposed to do, right? Which is mitigate conflicts, figure out what the best solution is, and like try to
Yeah,
do what's best for the nations.
and and I also think this is like one of the only chances to where she would actually get the chance to change how the other Aes Sedai treat her. Because if she gave in to their demands about letting them take over the conversation and such, then like she probably would have given in a lot more, and it would have taken way longer to earn their respect. So
Yes,
I
completely
don't
agree.
think we would. I can't remember if we were there yet. If I'm skipping ahead.
Well, yeah, it's gonna lead right into the later chapters that we're about to get into here, but I'll move on to this other point here. So, Egwene says she doesn't want to fight. She's gonna try to mitigate the conflict, and she's trying to arrange a meeting with the leaders so that the armies don't just meet each other before the leaders meet. So she tells the scout to go do that, and then she starts talking about the Tarvalin siege. Right, she's starting to like lay the plans of like we're actually gonna do this. Like we're not just gonna
Yeah,
keep hanging out and waiting for Rand to tell us what to do. Like we're gonna go take Tarvalin.
yeah.
We need to start making this plan.
This was this the chapter? Or was it the next chapter where they started talking about with Gareth Brand about what they want to do before they get
Um,
there, or does that come
I think
later?
that's the following chapters, but Gareth Bryn
All right,
is in this chapter, but I don't think they've discussed that quite yet. She's only just discussing, how long this. Oh wait, no, yeah, she is. I believe she does talk to him about it because she asks, um, how long do the soldiers need to rest before we start moving on Tarvalin?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think what we're gonna like here, it sets up all the conflicts, but then in the next chapter or two when they actually do the meeting, Egwene find out like she finds a solution to all the conflicts. So
Right.
it's getting kind of hard like discuss this without
Yeah,
trying
we
to
can just
talk
kind of
about
move
the
on
other stuff.
here.
Yeah. Well, wait, there's a what was there one more thing in this chapter where trying to get. Oh yeah, we I kind of want to talk about this real quick. So
Yeah, yeah.
when Egwene, young girl's an Armulan seat, right? And she starts questioning the Oath Rod in front of Swan,
Oh
who's a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
older, and she's like, "Do we really even need to do this Oath Rod? Like, it's making everything so much more difficult and so hard." And then Swan pulls up some fucking like elder shit, right? Where she's just like, "Look, we need these Oath Rods because it's what makes people trust us. It's what gives us our." Our not title, not presence, not what I'm looking for. It's like it gives them their their what word would you give? I'm kind of blanking right now.
Yeah,
Like
I mean it's kind of like I don't know. It's almost like a metaphor of like young people versus like traditional older people. You know, like you need to have some kind of moral code. At least that's how I interpret it. And like getting rid of the oath rod basically is saying like let's get rid of our code. Like,
but I think it's more than that too, because a lot of the oaths they give them, like Swan explained, was that when they send Aes Sedai to like a kingdom or like in large numbers and stuff, and the Aes Sedai tell them they are not there to harm them or take over stuff or whatever, then they can trust them because they know, because
oh
everybody
yeah,
knows
yep,
they took an oath to not lie. I
right.
mean, they can like different word things, but if you say I am not here to fight you or take you over, then you can trust that. And so it does like bind them down restrictedly, but it gives them a trustworthy kind of presence to where when I said I tells you something, you can at least take that at face value a little bit, because some of them word their stuff tricky, but for the most part you can at least like it won't nothing will surprise you, because that's what like fear comes from the unknown, right? So you can trust an Aes Sedai when she says, "I am not going to harm you," So there's more to the oath rods than just tradition. Like
Yeah, no,
it
for
it
sure.
it elevates them to a status that other people don't have. So I think that's what like Egwene was like. This is making stuff so much harder. But then Swan's like, well, it would be even harder if we didn't have it, type of thing. So it's
Yeah,
like a wise older woman versus a young rash girl.
yeah. And I mean, the other oaths are also important too, not just the truth one. You know, not using your powers in offensively. You know, using them only in defense and preferably only against dark friends.
Like a
Um,
Jedi.
yeah, like a Jedi, very much so. Which is like in any martial art, that's the
Yeah.
foundation of it. Is like you should not go around trying to kick people's asses. Like the point of
Yeah.
learning this is to defend yourself and to get away. It's not
Yeah.
to
Learn.
sit there and go around and try to hurt people, which is like a big contrast to the Ashaman in the previous chapter where they're just hanging heads from a
Um,
tree. You know, which is
holy shit.
is completely different, and that's just like the. I feel like it illustrates like very clearly like the old institutionalized, very old establishment of the female Aes Sedai, where they have a moral code and they have strong traditions, and then you have these Ashaman that just it's like the Wild West, like they're just hanging
Yeah.
heads.
It's like you have your whole um it's almost like proper England fighting the rednecks of the United States, like you know.
Yeah,
So or like a rash new culture that's just trying to find its way, like the Ashaman versus tried. and try it again. Uh, m- methodal. Uh, I don't know where I'm going with this sentence. I'm just going to start over. Yeah, you have the Aes Sedai just have more experience through that 1,000 or so years to develop the tower and their traditions and stuff for a reason. The Asuman are still brand new, so they have to go through their pitfalls and learn from them when the Aes Sedai have already done that, and especially over the secret history too.
Yeah.
But but then if they're covering up all the secret history, how much are they really learning from that history? Well, I guess the Armulan seat will.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's fair for Egwene to question it. I mean, I feel like it's part of the responsibility of the younger generation to question those things because not all traditions are necessarily good or logical. I mean, some of them, like this oath rod thing, I think, regardless of how you think about the oath rod, I mean, I think it does do some good, but I do think it is part of like the younger generation's responsibility to question things that have been established for a long time and wonder if they actually provide value still, which
That's a good point.
Egwene is doing. But
Checks and balances.
yeah,
It's it's a good way for the younger generation like challenge the status quo, and if it holds sturdy, keep it. And if it's a hindrance to a point, maybe it's time to find something better.
yeah, no, definitely.
But but we'll see. I think that the the oath rods oaths are pretty good for a time of peace, as especially. But then I guess it could also be good for time of war too, because if they're gonna go like if I said I go to Shale Ghul, they're gonna be under attack, by the Dark One, so they will be able to fight back. So uh, I see it more as like an honor. It's an honor based system to where people trust honorable people, so people can trust the Aes Sedai because they know they took those specific oaths on the oath rod.
Definitely.
So that's all I got for this chapter.
That
So
is, I think, all I got as well. So we can go here.
5 more to go. Let's go.
All right. So, chapter 16, Unexpected Absences. So, Egwene deals with some matters in the camp. Shiriam is beaten by someone who is not happy with her not finding out what Egwene is up to. So, that's obviously like a big thing. Um, so, let's see here. This is mostly like kind of more of a transitional chapter. It's mostly talking, Egwene just talking to several people in the camp. I think the biggest takeaway from one of the bigger points of this is that second sentence I read off. So like Shiriam being beaten by someone. Up until this point, Shiriam has been like pretty trustworthy. She came from the Blue Aja. She was the novice teacher, and she's always supported Nynaeve and Elaine and Egwene and all the younger Aes Sedai, right? Like she's always been like kind of their mentor. But now we find that she's being either she's a dark friend or she's being manipulated by someone with or being blackmailed or something like that. Which is significant because she's the keeper, right? So she's always
I
around
do
Egwene.
I do remember this being mentioned. This is another one of those chapters to where I don't really remember too much from because it kind of for me it just kind of blends in with
Yeah.
all the other Egwene chapters, or kind of like how those two Rand chapters kind of blended together as one,
Yes.
but they're like so.
I mean, looking over
At
the
least
notes
that's
of
how it is for me.
yeah. I mean,
There you
looking
go.
over the notes here, there isn't a ton here.
Yeah,
Mostly just kind of talking about things that have already been talked about. Like they talk about the bowl. Um, Somebody hides a corpse, which is fairly important.
I don't remember that at
So
all.
Yeah,
I
Arangar
don't.
hides a corpse, possibly Salami. So that's one of Egwene's maids. So the previous chapter, we have Egwene kind of setting up the siege of Tarvalin, getting ready for a big diplomatic event. This chapter, we have where we have some like issues within the camp that might be an issue later on. Like Shiriam, we don't know if Shiriam's a dark friend now. We don't know. Like she might not be a dark friend, but she's clearly being manipulated by someone. Since she's just getting beaten. I mean, she's a pretty powerful Aes Sedai, so if she's just allowing someone to beat her up, I mean, there's something very wrong, right? And then you have
So,
a corpse being hidden. Go ahead, sorry.
no, I thought you were done. You can continue.
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, corpse being hidden. There's obviously some like insurrection going on within the camp.
So thinking, so last chapter ended, or last chapter dealt with the other two armies and all that, and Egwene standing up for herself and not picking either of those other two Aes Sedai, whatever, forgot their names,
Yeah.
to run.
Romonda and Lelaine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then Egwene took over that and told them what they're gonna do. They're gonna rest for a month and then go attack Tarvalin, and she took charge. So that happened that chapter. And then this chapter was the one where her and the Hall were discussing what to do next. And and then I remember Egwene bringing up that she's like, okay, we need to fully declare war on Elida.
Yeah, so that chapter's. I think that's the next chapter.
The next chapter?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the next one. Or
okay.
The chapter after that. I remember that as well.
Alright.
So we can probably just go past this chapter.
Just skip the
next chapter. There's not much else here besides, like Shiriam, we're questioning her loyalties, and a corpse was hidden, so there's some kind of betrayal probably going to occur.
Yeah. Now I feel like going back and reading that chapter later, just because that seems like quite a bit of like interesting plot points.
Yeah.
And I did not remember shit of it, so I don't know.
I don't think it was a very long chapter, if I remember correctly, but yeah.
Just kind of blended in with these other two.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so chapter 17, out on the ice. So Egwene and the Hall meet a group of Mirandian and Andoran nobles. So, the meeting that she called previously 2 chapters ago, this is the meeting now. She announces that the novice book is open for any woman regardless her age. So that's pretty significant, obviously, because that wasn't the case prior, and some of the other Aes Sedai criticized her. But yeah, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. I think it was a good idea, especially since the final battle is literally coming, and you only have what, like, how much Aes Sedai is there? Like,
there's not that many.
Not that many. I mean, the Ashiman were said to like catch up to their numbers within like a half a year or something, like 3 to 6 months.
And I think part of that is just like the Aes Sedai training is so rigorous compared to the Ashiman are just taking whoever. But now Nynaeve, or not Nynaeve, Egwene is instating the same policy, right, where she's like, just take anyone. When previously the Aes Sedai would only take people who had a certain amount of ability,
And what's funny is that Egwene making this a public like thing is, remember in the last book when they're getting the Bowl of the Winds, where Nynaeve and Elaine were like, yeah, you all can come to the tower, become Aes Sedai, and then like the other Aes Sedai were like, bruh, no, you can't just do that shit. Wait till we tell Egwene about this, and then they're like, Egwene's gonna agree with us. You just watch and see. And then the other Aes Sedai, who were like 400 years old and shit, or not Aes Sedai, the Wilders, were like, oh, we can become Aes Sedai, cool, let's do it. And then this book, in this chapter, Egwene says, we're gonna take anybody and everybody. Let's go. And so it's like, I think that having Egwene finally like saying that or announcing that gives a good insight on her friendship with Nynaeve and Elaine, because like they all know each other so well that they're like, oh, no, it's fine. And I'm just like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Friendship going there.
And
Finally, people acting like
I
friends.
know, right? Everybody in the Wheel of Time tends to just be assholes to each other, regardless of their relationships. Besides
Rand,
men.
they're women. They
Besides
torture me,
men.
damn it.
Yeah.
Besides men, I
Min is like the only
fucking
normal
love,
person. Everyone else is just like an asshole to everyone.
yeah, I love men.
Yeah.
Men's number one.
Min's a goat. Um
She's like she's like, I don't give a fuck about anybody like except you. And I'm like, damn man, you're fucking crazy.
Another
Sorry, okay,
thing I wanted to point out here really quick before we kind of move on, unless you had something else here, but the there's a part in this notes here saying, other people worry about a battle between the Black and the White Towers, between the male and the female Aes Sedai, which is like just more foreshadowing, right, of like a possible fight that's gonna occur, which might occur just because Mazrim Taim might be a dark friend. And he's like, okay, let's just kill the Aes Sedai.
yeah.
But yeah,
I oh was that it? Or?
yeah, that's it. I was just I don't
No,
know.
it's like I like that point because wouldn't that be quite the twist? Is at the end of this book, like the whole book, they're like, okay, we're gonna fight the White Tower. This book, you get to the end of the book, Tahim has like maybe Tahim and all them at the Black Tower have been basically. I'm just gonna giving the Ashimon fake news or whatever you want to call it, or whatever the fuck you want to call it,
Mhm.
but basically tricking them into thinking that the Aes Sedai are going to attack them, and so they attack first. And then Rand, and then all the Aes Sedai are going to be like, "What the fuck? I thought Rand was on our side." But then Rand, when he finds out, is going to be like, "What the fuck, Tahim? What are you doing?" And so it's like, I don't know if this happens, it'd be kind of a good twist where it's like, is this where because like if Tahim's a dark friend, right? The Aes Sedai are obviously going to team up with Rand to try to fight the Dark One. So if Tahim takes the army he built for Rand, takes that army and then destroys his allies in the process, under the disguise of the dragon, not only would he around the whole continent would people be like afraid of Rand or not want to join him because they're like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Or you're just going, "What you're going crazy." you know.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's,
but I think for a dark friend, it could be a good move because I don't know if the White Tower like uh is the White Tower controlled by dark friends right now? Because what's her name? I
Elida
don't
is
know
not.
her name. Well,
Yeah,
not a
she
dark
hasn't been
friend.
confirmed as like a dark friend or anything like that, but obviously she's like an extremist. Even within
Yeah.
the Red Aja, she's kind of extreme. So
Yeah. Oh, so that's actually a good point. We got an extreme. Elida's extremist when it comes to Aes Sedai. The Shadow is extreme when it comes to the Aiel. And then what was the other one we
the
had?
Prophet and the Dragon Sworn are like
Yeah, Prophet.
extreme dragon followers.
Extreme White Cloaks. Or White
Yeah,
Cloaks are already kind of extreme
yeah,
anyway.
they're already like just crazy.
Everyone's fucking extreme.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, so I like that point you brought up. I'm just going on rant after rant. Jeez.
No, that's good.
All right.
All
You
right,
good with this chapter? Is
I'm good on
there
that one. Yeah, can move on
yeah,
here.
I'm just yeah, I was just glancing through the notes and I don't think there's really much left. All right. Next
Okay,
one.
so chapter 18, a peculiar calling. Egwene allows Talmanis and the band to stay behind and not participate in the siege of the tower. So I think, yeah, the majority of this was just Egwene talking to Talmanis, and Talmanis is second in command to Matt, and the band is the Red Band, which is like Matt's army. Um, so yeah, Talmanis tells from the notes here. Yeah, Talmanis tells Egwene that he wants to stay instead of going to lay siege at the tower. So I remember Matt telling the red band to stay with Egwene and participate in the siege, but now you have Talmanis saying like, I don't want to go to the siege because he feels like Matt needs him and he thinks he can unite Murundi behind him,
Mhm.
which is kind of
Yeah.
kind of weird, honestly.
Yeah.
To me, it
How
kind
did
of quite makes
Thomas
me
do that?
question him a little bit because it's like, okay, like you're not gonna go to the siege and then you're trying to unite a country behind your banner. So it's like, I don't know. It's kind of dark
It's
friendy to me. I don't know. I sniff a
a little
little bit of
bit.
dark friend. I don't know.
I'm just for me. I was just to be honest. I forgot he was even there.
Me too.
Uh,
Yeah, he wasn't like
and
mentioned until now. Like I feel,
yeah,
like Matt
and
told him to stay with Egwene, and then Egwene like nobody mentioned them until like now.
but when it comes to books, because since we're switching off from Wheel of Time to Dark Tower to Wheel of Time back to Dark Tower,
Mm-hmm.
I mean we're gonna forget about little things like
Yeah.
this that happened like 2 books ago. So,
Yeah.
uh, and Egwene was in like one chapter last book, so we had like
Mm-hmm.
an entire book without Egwene. So it's like so when this chapter came up, if Robert Jordan didn't like explain who the fuck this guy was, I would have no idea.
Right.
So I the only thing I'm wondering is do you why he thinks Matt's in danger? Is it because he hasn't heard from him in a while? And like I said, that's also a thing where it comes to like time is like how much time has passed. I have no idea. Uh, because when I think it was the end of the last book where Matt uh got like had like a building fall on him during a
Right.
Sachan attack, and then we haven't heard from him since. And obviously he's not dead. I mean it's only book 8, so I don't know if he dies. I'm pretty sure he doesn't, but like we still haven't heard from him. So I'm like, how does is that why Tomanis thinks he's in danger because he hasn't heard from him? Is he hearing from him weekly or something? Like I don't know.
Yeah. It's
How did they
it's
mention it?
it's weird to me, for sure. And I don't know if Talmanis is just gonna stay in Murundi or if he's gonna go and try to find Matt. I don't know, but it's kind of a weird decision. But
Maybe maybe so. This guy, so Tomanis and his crew are with Matt. Matt's with Rand. That army leaves during the siege of Travalen, but as they're heading to Travalen, Matt's people leave. Let's say Black Tower comes in and attacks. Then they're like, "Oh, no wonder Matt's those people left. This was a plan the whole time."
yeah,
So, and this is just a theory. So, what if Talmanis, whatever, is a dark friend, and he's planning shit with the Tahim
yeah.
for the. I mean, honestly, I think this is like way out of. I don't think this is gonna happen. I'm just kind of like that's just what came to mind.
No, I
I
mean
don't know.
it could be something like that, like some kind of betrayal. I mean, it's just weird. I mean, the chapter is literally called a peculiar calling, so like literally a weird
It's a little
calling.
sus,
It's a little
but
weird.
it is after looking at this is like the chapter icon is like 5 dice arranged in a ring,
Right?
and Matt does have that fucking dice in his head.
He does.
It's like now I can't wait to buy the physical book now because I'm like, does every chapter like have these icons in the book, or is this just what these notes are doing?
No, I think it does have these icons. I'm pretty sure.
That's really cool. If I
That's
had more
cool.
shelf space, I'll have to wait until I get another shelf or something. Anyway, is there anything else in this chapter?
Nah, I don't
Or
have
is that
anything else.
uh yeah, fuck it. Next chapter.
All right. So chapter 19, the law. So this is the big chapter where Elaine gets them to declare war for real. So Egwene
Oh,
tricks the
okay.
Hall to declare war on Elida and grants her greater powers under the law of war. So this is like where you really see Egwene shine as an Amerlin, right? Like she has her first real diplomatic event where she diffuses the situation with Andor and Murundi, right? And then now she kind of, by understanding the Tower Law regarding war, like they basically have like a martial law thing within the Tower. Like if you declare war, then the Amerlin gets like most of the power, right? Like she becomes basically, martial law basically takes effect. So like when she gets the majority to declare war, then she gains a lot of power now. So
This one of my favorite scenes was when Egwene like when she like tricked them into declaring war on Elida, and so then she's like, okay, now because we declared war, the Armelin gets these powers,
yeah.
and then she asks like the Grey Sister, where she's like, hey, is this true? Like, and then she's like, oh, let me think, and then she starts repeating it, and she's like, I don't know if I should be saying this, but this is the law, and like she says it, and everyone's like, oh. Oh well, hardy har har, Gwen. Like whoop dee doo. You pulled quite the sneak on us, and it's like, it's, so it was, that was probably my favorite part. That was really funny
It was
for
good.
me
And then
because
there you go ahead, yeah.
I'm just saying it's been such a like long time. I feel like since I've really enjoyed like Egwene's presence in the book, and this book so far with what it's been doing with all of the ladies has I've really liked. Like over past books.
Yeah, no, I've really enjoyed like Egwene taking control and like becoming like a real politician and like an actual leader, and because like it was kind of getting annoying, like all the other Aes Sedai kind of treating her like shit, especially Lelaine and like Romanda. And then in this chapter, she kind of like puts them all in their place. So,
That's what it was. It was Lil Lane. So
mm-hmm.
remember earlier when I said those reviews were talking about Olane and Lil Lane, they're like the audiobook got it wrong. They were calling Elaine Lil Lane. I was like, but then after reading the book, it's like no, Elaine is with Nynaeve and Lil Lane is with
Yeah,
uh Egwene. So the audiobook they didn't fuck it up. It's just I could see how someone
would be
could
confused.
get confused. Yeah,
Yeah,
because I got confused with Tam and Lan
yeah.
in the
The
first book.
names need to be different.
So yeah, I didn't mean to disturb the flow.
No,
I'm just
you're good.
saying it made me think of that, and I needed to talk about it.
Yeah, because I mean, we've talked about it. The names are like there's so many characters in this book. I mean, I can't really knock Robert Jordan. Like, how many names can you really think of?
Yeah,
So
like when I'm looking at these notes, right? So it's Egwene tells Takima to tell the Hall about the Law of War, right? So I remembered the event, and I obviously remember Egwene, but I, for the love of God, did not remember Takima like that name. And I'll tell you this: I am not going to remember it after we're done talking about it. So uh, I do, I do like remember Lilane just because I remember the name just sounds so familiar to so similar to Elaine that I always remember that, but that Aes Sedai. But Ramonda, I always remember the name, but not really the character
yeah,
too much. How do you feel about like the bajillion Aes Sedai names? Like, do you in particular remember any person besides like Swan?
yeah. It's tough really to like keep them all straight. If that's one of the criticisms I have of this of the writing, that's one of them where it's like there's too many like Aes Sedai names and there's not enough like differentiating. I remember Lelaine and Ramonda just because they kept telling Egwene what to do and stuff. Because they're like some of the more senior Aes Sedai, and they thought because she's young they can just tell her what to do. But obviously this chapter is a huge turning point where like she's like, no,
Yeah.
fuck you.
And
So,
and do you remember it was like in one of the first three books to where some dark friend or someone said, uh you don't know who a dark, maybe it was Fane said it, but they said something like, you've met people on your journey so far that's been dark friends, and you don't even know they're dark friends. You don't know who you can trust. You don't know who's who. You don't know if they're on your side. You don't know if they're a dark friend. And I think, like, when Robert Jordan has all these names and all these, and how most of them don't really do shit, uh, like in the story wise, like for reading purposes, uh, I wonder if that's just kind of like a not only is it like a strategy to be like, okay, I can bring back any of these characters whenever I want to be a dark friend and add more depth to them later if I chose, or if like they're not really supposed to be names or people you specifically remember, they're just kind of there to make these situations more believable. You know, because it's like, in the grand scheme of things, you don't really need to remember who Brienne, Swanna, or is that how you spell Swan?
yeah, it's
I have
one.
no
Yeah.
really. That's not how you spell Swan, but whatever. I don't see a W in there. But anyway, it's like most of the Aes Sedai, I feel like, or like in other situations where we're giving a shit ton of names and nobles, is that we're not really supposed to remember them specifically. It's more like for that specific event to feel more realistic. So that's why I don't want to like garb on it too much, but I'm just kind of like, at this point I'm just believing that we're not supposed to remember everybody. Like
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things.
No, I mean that's definitely the position I've kind of taken over these past few books, and so far it's been true. Like it doesn't usually matter that much.
Who's if you had to pick If you had to pick an Aes Sedai to marry, who would it be? And it can't be any of the main characters.
Um,
They're all the same. Doesn't matter
yeah,
who you
it's
pick.
gonna have to be this random Salida. Sounds good to me.
Damn,
I like the name.
you're a dude. Oh jeez.
I'll marry
it's
Elida. Yeah.
it's like they all act the same. They're all assholes. You're
Wait.
you're either gonna be with a red odd job who's gonna hate you, or you're gonna be with a blue odd job who's gonna be like, "Nah, nah, nah," or you're gonna be with like the green odd job who's probably the best out of all of them, but
True.
you won't be her only man. So
Yeah.
you'll be a simp bitch.
Yeah. They have like five warders. So, like,
Yeah,
fuck yeah.
like
Honestly, you do you, girl.
yeah, fuck. I'm not. I mean, I won't, but I mean, I won't stay with. It's like-
Yeah, a lot of the. I mean, we talked about almost every character in these books are like kind of assholes. Like, I wouldn't want to be friends with like any of these people, really.
Except Perrin, I
Yeah,
would
Perrin's
love.
alright.
Perrin's great and loyal. God,
Yeah,
where's
loyal is the real
fucking
one. I like Tom. Tom as well. Marilyn,
yeah, Tom
and
Maryland.
obviously Min.
Yeah, I love men too.
Everyone else is a little bit
Who's
insane.
I feel like such an ass for not remembering this guy's name, but he's with Tom and the rest of them. With the eye patch. The fuck's
Oh,
his name?
Uno.
Uno. Yeah, I love
Yeah,
Uno
Uno's
too.
fairly normal too. Yeah.
But where's he, dude? Have we even had like Tom say one thing in like the last two
Yeah,
books?
Tom is like non-existent. I think in this chapter or the previous one, Egwene actually did mention Uno. He's just like in the camp with the rebel Aes Sedai. He's just gonna like be in the siege.
Yeah, that's like the one thing about having like all the fellowship from like the first book. It's like half of them aren't doing anything anymore. So I'm
Yeah,
just
they're taking kind of a
it's like
backseat role.
It's like eight books in. There's only so much you can do with like Tom. Like
Yeah.
Tom's good at the very beginning to help develop your characters in the beginning, but like Rand, Matt, and Perrin are kind of at a point to where they don't really need Tom's protection. So it's kind of like it's inevitable that they would become like a side character.
Yeah, it's the same thing with like Loyal too, because like they don't really need Loyal's help anymore. Like the only reason you'd have Tom, Marilyn, and Loyal is for exposition dumps, or like they need someone to listen to them and
Yeah,
just
and
yeah,
Tom's was very interesting too at the beginning. With the not only did he have like a sad backstory, but then like he like saves the kids, but Matt and Rand. He fucks his leg up, can't do his flips anymore, finds a hot piece of ass, and then she gets killed.
he does go through the ringer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, we could go to the last chapter.
All
Oh
right.
man.
Last chapter 20 into Andor. Nynaeve heals those who are injured while escaping the Shan, and the group rides on to Camelin. Um,
Um.
this one's fairly transitional too.
Yeah.
There wasn't like a ton here. Just
I
looking through the
think
notes here. Yeah,
the real
Kinswoman.
the real problem I had with this chapter is that at the beginning of the book, I was kind of bored, and I was just kind of like, I feel just mentally, I just wasn't retaining a lot of the things. So
Mm-hmm.
I know that they had the bowl, they did that. They're running from the Sanshan,
Yep.
and then Navienda. It was the war Elaine's warder, the Barra. I keep wanting to say
Uh,
Barracuda, but I know it's
Brigida.
Brigida.
Barracuda.
So
Yeah.
Brigida took like an arrow in the leg or
Yeah.
something,
Arrow,
and
arrow to the
so
knee.
arrow in the knee.
It's an
Is that
ancient
a
meme.
Skyrim
That's
reference?
ancient.
Oh. But so a few things like that happened, and so but what confused me is so I thought they were like separate from their camp, and then they were like fighting the Sanshan away from camp, and then in this chapter, I feel like they just randomly like were back at the camp, and I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
But maybe
Elaine.
it was like
I remember now. So yeah, like Elaine created a portal, and they all went through it, and it took them to Elaine's, like one of Elaine's farms, one of the estates. So they're back in like Andor.
oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh,
and they have one of the Black Aja with them. And I think they try to interrogate. Yeah, I'm looking through the notes here. They try to
yeah,
interrogate her, but they don't really get anything out of it. Um,
yeah, because they basically got everything they could, and I remember they think she took an oath rod saying that she wouldn't betray her, uh, basically her coworkers, her
right.
peers, that connect to her, because like she keeps giving information about everyone else except for like real personal stuff. So they don't think they can really get much more out of her, but so they're just kind of doing it just to do it.
Yeah.
So my my real takeaway from this chapter that I really focused on when I was reading it was Elaine when she was going through the shops or going through Andor. She's like, I can't wait. I'm about to be queen again and get to my castle. But then she hears all these rumors
Oh, yeah.
about Rand,
Mm-hmm.
and most of them are pretty bad.
Yes.
So, and she's like, well, fuck. She's like, I know these aren't true. They can't be true. It's a fever dream. That's
I
there.
thought it was kind of comical. I thought it was kind of
Yeah,
comical too, because it kind of is like the modern world where like no matter who the president is or like who's in like whatever, at least in the U.S., like everybody blames the current president and the current administration for
yeah.
like anything that's bad that occurs in the country. So like it's kind of like the
It's
same with Rand, where it's like he's the one who's in power now, and like anything that bad happens is his fault. So it's
Yeah,
kind of funny.
they even mentioned that that's a similar thing when Elaine was like something that happened to crops like 2 years
Yeah,
ago or
like some
whatever.
random
They're
shit.
blaming on so yeah, they're just blaming on the Dragon Reborn, and I was like, that's so funny because it's true. In the in modern day too, especially I think this book when was this probably written early 2000s. I think I don't know when it came out.
Yeah.
But it like came out during like the dawn of like the rise of the internet, right? Where you got all this random shit. So I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to make connections where there isn't any.
No, I mean, yeah, I think it's
I
a
didn't.
good like way to describe how the world is during this chapter, but also, yeah, like having a metaphor to like that's how people are, you know.
Well, like if you were just some random farmer in the butt fuck of nowhere, and then the world was just going chaotic, and the first thing that would come to mind is, okay, so the Dragon Reborn is powerful as shit, and he's going around taking over cities in like a day or like a couple hours. So it's like, of course you're gonna believe these rumors. You're just a random fuck making like growing wheat
Yeah.
in a field, and all shit's going to hell, and you're just like, God, fuck you, Dragon Reborn. What are you doing? Fuck you.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I don't know. That's just kind of how I how I saw it. And it was kind of funny,
Yes, no, that's
but
exactly how
then
I saw it. Yeah.
but that honestly that just makes the not only does it make the world feel more believable, but it also kind of gets me excited because we know exactly what happens. But then I love seeing the point of view of other people who are just don't know what the fuck's going on, and so from their point of view, it's completely different of what reality is. And I know in the first couple audiobooks at the very end, where they had an interview with Robert Jordan, he was like, when he talked about how information spreads, he was just like, the further away you get from the event, the more diluted the information's going to be.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that those interviews. Those are pretty good, and yeah, you
Yeah,
see that throughout his writing.
yeah. I really enjoy that because this is like one of the first big series I've read, so it's like I don't know if this is a common thing in a lot of books, but for me personally, I have not seen this kind of happen. So I'm just like, damn, that's some good shit.
No, me either. I feel like because he pointed it out in that interview, he's making a point to have that be part of his world, which is more realistic.
Which I want to make it clear, it doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be realistic to be good. It's
Yeah,
just this is
for
just
sure.
one of these aspects that I like
Agreed.
about the story.
No, agreed.
Um, anything else happen in this chapter,
Looking through the
or
notes
are you
here.
about to fall asleep at your desk?
We're getting to that point, right? We're recording pretty late. Um, yeah, I don't think there's anything else really here. This is definitely a more transitional chapter, just kind of like checking back in with this group.
Yeah, they're having money issues, and
Yeah.
no one wants to buy their shitty jewelry. Or well, okay, the jewelry's not shit, but oh, sorry, they just no one wants to give them, so they're like having money troubles. And
Yeah.
oh, I guess Egwene and them were also having money troubles too.
Yeah.
Literally, if you're not Matt or Karen or if you're, I guess if you're a man in this story, you just have all the money.
Yeah, just another
Yeah,
wonderful thing about Robert Jordan's writing.
I love it. That's okay. That's looking a little too deep into
I'm just
it.
joking. The gender stuff does get a little annoying
But
sometimes, but it's all right.
yeah, you say that again, and I'll sniff the air at you. Where I, at least I don't want to get too much into Stephen King yet. Oh, we'll have plenty to
Plenty
talk
of
about.
time when we move on to that book.
Yeah, like a piston. Okay. Anyways, anyone who's read The Stand extended edition, you know what I'm talking about. Chapter 46. You know what I'm talking about. All right. I'm ready for the outro. I'm done.
Yeah, I think that's it. So, I guess for next week we're gonna finish the book. I can't remember what chapter that ends on. It's gonna be 21 to
31, I
okay.
think. Let me look. Yeah, 31.
Okay.
No, well, there's a 15-second end credits.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
If you have the audiobook, you get to hear the credits.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So yeah, we'll do 21 to 31 for next week. As always, this is just our second episode, but we do appreciate you all taking some time to listen if you did. If you're listening on YouTube, giving us a like or giving a comment would be awesome to help get us exposure, and it really does help to like grow the channel. So if you don't mind doing that, that'd be awesome. And if you have any feedback for us, feel free to give us a review on YouTube or a comment on YouTube or a review on wherever you're getting the podcast, whether that's Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever. But we really appreciate any kind of support that you're willing to
Yeah,
extend.
I would with the comments, like, we wanna make this as good as we possibly can. So if you do have any criticisms or anything, we'd love to hear them, just so we could help improve the experience. You know, so that would be wonderful.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well,
Well,
we'll finish the book next week, and then we'll meet again next Thursday. But thanks for
yeah.
listening, and have a great weekend.
Goodbye.